Alright guys, welcome back to the daily wrap-up. So, I actually wasn't watching the indexes today all that much. I was watching Southwest Energy has taken some calls here. There's some interesting activity going on here, so we just took some long calls for the winter storm coming next week. So, hedged that with a few other put options around and about, but beyond that, not much going on today. Took some day trades on CTRM. That one's up nicely, and then I think there's another one. I don't remember, but let's get into the usual why we do these videos. Oh, this is the 5-minute. Whoops, it's time to back it up. So we set a new all-time high on the NASDAQ, or on the S&P. Actually closed at the all-time high on the S&P. So this is our rising channel. I'll get rid of this one down here. So this is sort of our channel, our short-term channels right here, above this 3860 level. Honestly, we're seeing the unbalanced volume continue to rise. We're seeing this trend line continue to hold. The forward deterrent price oscillator is looking nice. It's looking solid. It's still trading above that green trend. The second we see that crossover is typically a bearish indicator, but until we see that bullish continuation, RSI at 65, fairly healthy level as we're setting a new high. It's not overextended, not overbought, not relatively suppressed. So S&P looks good. We were looking for this today. We were looking for this action. We said, like yesterday's video, if it comes up, test this as support, and then it resumes to the upside. That's a very bullish case, and that's exactly what happened. We broke through that level, came up, tested, and then continued higher. So honestly, we're just looking for this trend to continue. Short term, just along this trend, like this. Within this sort of range here into 3,900 next week by Tuesday or by Monday, as long as we get that Sunday future trading happening and a continuation to the upside. We can see 3,900 by open on Monday. Very possible. Any pullbacks, we do have this rising support structure that should be able to hold us, but it doesn't seem like we'll be touching that anytime soon. I'm going to make this one quick. I got a few things to do tonight, and then we'll be back with the Sunday video. So same thing with the NASDAQ here. Let's take this one out. Obviously we set a new high on here today, 13,600. We are 3 points above that level right now. So we came up, touched, came down, found some support, came back up, touched this level again, and then as we came up, crossed below, and then tested this resistance as support, prior resistance as support, and then came back up, set a new all-time high, closed right above. You can see we closed right above that 13,600 level, about 3.5 points above, and that's where the futures closed. So Sunday we'll have to see if this trend continues or if it decides to pull back down into at least this trend line here or down to 13,400. But NASDAQ as well, looking pretty bullish. We can take a look at the indicators here. On balance, looking strong. Forward deterrent price looking strong. Not as high as the prior peak, but it is strengthening. We are getting a nice cross onto that upper bound of the lower channel. So could be a very bullish continuation up into that 500 level. And then RSI, we have this triple top, descending triple top. And then obviously as the price was rising, this was descending, sold off as that was a divergence. And then this is coming up. We set a high here, double top here. Looks pretty correlated, so we can look for continuation to the upside, possibly into 13,800. But we'll have to see. 13,800 is sort of that next target that I'm looking for. Make sure my software's still recording. I don't want to record something and not have it record. So this V is actually still holding continuation. So we have this sort of channel pattern here. Not able to set a new all-time high, as you can obviously see. Came up to this sort of 31,150 level, touched it, came back down, and now we're sort of a spinning top pattern here as we have this lower support trend still holding. It's very, very sharp to the upside here. This V bottom and then a continuation higher. It's a very interesting V bottom. So a breakdown is obviously very bearish, and then back into this level here, but we'll remove it for now just to clean up the chart. As long as it's in here, it's kind of a no man's zone, and if we want to hold this trend, we have to continue to the upside into at least 31,200, and then a continuation like that. It has to be pretty vertical, but that's unsustainable, obviously, especially over the longer term. Short term, no, you could probably get a couple more candles like this maximum, but I think if you see this trend continue, that's unsustainable. So a breakdown below this level could bring us back to the 50, but it looks like there's a nice golden cross happening over the 20 and 50 day, but it could be near completion here as it comes back up and then rolls back into this support down here. But very possibly set a new all-time high in the Dow Jones next week by Monday. We can take a look at a few of these things here. Obviously, we're seeing the on-balance volume gap here. It's widening, and then it's slightly closing in here as the lower bound is coming up and the higher bound is starting to curl over. Last time we saw that was here, and it pulled back slightly. You can kind of see the oscillating price. Looks like it's about to bounce right off that channel. And then the RSI looks like it's starting to flatten out here. Not necessarily turning negative, but not really continuing higher. So Dow Jones definitely weaker today than the NASDAQ and the Russell, or NASDAQ and the S&P. And now we're going to take a look at the Russell. Russell, obviously, strongest today. Very, 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 very strong. Oh, I don't know why I did that. This is that level that we saw. We saw this candle come up. We said, oh, this is very bullish. And that's about as much as it's going to happen. Obviously, we saw this. Came up, tested this level again around 2,200. Then continued higher, about 34 points. Closed 33 points above that 220 level at 2,233. Flat. So, obviously very strong on the Russell. And we can honestly... this is about where we are right now. I want to just rise that up a little bit here. Toss this into slight because of just the angle that this trend is moving at. Let's remove this one down here. We'll leave that just for now. If it comes back and tries to test this level of demand, otherwise Russell very, 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 very strong compared to especially the Dow Jones. This trend is very strong. It looks like either we're going to see a continuation and then a consolidation pattern before the next leg higher, or this could be sort of an exhaustion move to the upside and then a sharp pullback. We are seeing the RSI get back into that overbought level. Obviously here we saw a declining RSI with a rising price, and then that diverged to the downside. That's where we saw about a 6% correction. And then we bounced off that 40 level, typical bounce level here, like we saw back here. And then we're getting right back into that overbought RSI level in a very short order. So possible we see continuation within, overbought territory, but it is overbought. It is giving you the red warning sign that the Russell is now overbought and in overbought territory. As you can obviously see, it's a it's about a 10.5. It's about a 10% move to the upside. It's a big move in a very short period of time. We take a look at gold and silver. Gold and silver did catch a bounce today, so we added some gold and silver yesterday just because we saw this level get down into this 1800, and I said I added into some 1800 on the GLD, and obviously we came down, tested 1785, and then bounced sharply to the upside and closed at 1850 or 1815.2. So not above that 1821.5 level, but very close. Closed right at this sort of candle or this wick low, and I'll toss this in here, right around 1816.5. That's essentially where we closed today. This candle touched it here. This candle touched it here. This candle got relatively close. This one came down to 1800. This one failed to get above it, but should be able to get into here if we see some bullish continuation to the upside. But again, zooming out here, this level where we're kind of seeing the low and the trend set coming up here, if we want to see something happen, I'd say this is where they essentially converge, come up and test this area around 1850 again. We've been watching 1850 for a very long time on gold. It's been a very significant level. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to do this. And I'm just going to edit this into place like we did have before. I'm on a new account on Thinkorswim, so I had to re-edit a lot of things. So this 1850 level is sort of our midpoint level. Obviously here, broke out, tested it, big major support, support here, cross below, resistance, came up, below, resistance, came up, tested again at support, traded above, tested along this level for a very long time, kind of up and down, up and down, up and down, and then cross below. So that 1850 level is sort of where I'm looking for it to get. It's where these top line resistance patterns coming down, lower prior support, now resistance level is coming up. And we'll edit this into resistance, light resistance, prior support. So we like to put those as pink. Comes up, tests this 1850. Should be some pretty heavy resistance, heavy supply zone up here. Obviously, this entire period with all this spot or all this buying and all this volume in here will be supply as we come back into this level if we decide to do so. It could hit 1820, 1825, and then decide to reverse back down to 1768 as the prior lows and look for a move off of that level if the buyers are not able to bring it back into this 1850 sort of midpoint level. We can look at the on balance. On balance, obviously continuing to sell off. Lower, this sort of yellow line hit a new low relatively, and same thing for the pink line. So we're back to this sort of around these levels down here. Run is trading around 1750, around 1800. The oscillator, obviously, if you can see this is crossing back into the red zone. Could be another false breakout here and then a continuation before the move higher, but it could be, you know, a spike in, spike up, and then a new trend set. We're seeing the RSI bounce right off that 30 level, looking for a continuation. Still very low, very muted RSI, around 41, so there's definitely some room to the upside for the relative strength in gold. And then silver made a much stronger move, up over 3% today. Bounced right off of 26. So glad I got into SLV, and essentially this candle down here, I was looking for a bounce back into this 20-day. We're seeing this sort of trend pattern come back. I'm looking for it to test this trend and then test resistance at 27.8, 28, that sort of level here. And I'll just toss in this box between here and 28. That's sort of the area we're looking to get some resistance. All the indicators looking much stronger. As we saw in gold, we're seeing this cross very slightly, as you can see here, right back into this red zone for the first time. So that's typically a bullish indicator that the trend could be reversing very soon. But given the rest of the events in silver, you never really know. I'd like to see back into 28 and then potentially back into that 30 level, this sort of bigger supply zone up here. Take a look at the dollar. Dollar had a different move today. Then we're also going to be looking at 10-year yields. So the dollar, obviously, this is the trend, came up, peaked out around 91.6, and then reversed back to the 20-day around 91. Closed right above 91. I believe we tested below 91 today. Yes, we did. And we did catch some support down here. So we'll see if this continues to the downside. If that's the case, gold and silver, the case for gold and silver becomes much stronger. They do perform much better in time periods when the dollar is weak. Not sure what I was looking at from here. We'll leave that. Lastly, let's just take a look at the TNX. Yields moving higher today. Sort of coming into this double top pattern. Sort of 11.9. And then if we get into 12, we'll obviously set new highs, but gapped above 10, and we have failed to come back below. It obviously came up here, set a high, came back, tested support, and back up to this. So either we see a consolidation with this pattern, or we see a nice breakout. And in that case, we're going to see a current trend in everything else that we're seeing, so the dollar will continue to move lower. And the equity markets will decide what they want to do, and bonds will continue to sell off, as we've seen today. They're moving much, much lower here at 48 now. So we're back to early 2020 levels. Oh, and my dog is screaming at me. So we'll wrap that up here today. Keeping it nice, tight. Actually, hold on real quick. Oil's at 57. Sorry, my dog is about to lose his mind. But we did get into oil as this breakout pattern occurred, and trend is continuing as oil is rising. But that's it. As always, I appreciate it. Like, subscribe, drop a share, don't drop a comment. I don't care what you do. But as always, I appreciate you, and have a good weekend.